الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome everybody to our Sunday class. Inshallah ta'ala, we're going through the Quran, Tafseer, AYAT الأحكام, looking at the verses of the Quran. I'm quite surprised actually that everyone turned up. I thought I was going to come today and nobody's going to be here. I was going to talk to myself. But alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. We're going through a lot of tests and trials, huh? Yeah, so verse number 6 down to number 10. Surah An-Noor, like we said before, is a surah that is relating to or answering many of the social problems that were taking place at that time. And it starts off with talking about the problems between husband and wife. Okay, so starting off with talking about marital problems, husband and wife. And last week, for those that were here, we took the topic of al-qadf. Okay, we're talking about the ruling of a person who accuses, if they accuse their spouse of indecency, this is called qadf, throwing an accusation at somebody. Okay, and to summarize the topic from last week, which is al-qadf, we said that if a person accuses, it could be a man to a woman to a man, it doesn't matter. If somebody makes an accusation against somebody, it's called qadf. And what are the conditions what do they have to bring forward in order to prove their claim? Good. How many witnesses? 4 witnesses. Good. They have to bring forward 4 witnesses. If they don't bring forward 4 witnesses, so if let's say the man, he says that his wife is not a moral woman, she's not a decent woman, he's seen her doing things that are wrong, or anybody else for that sake, not necessarily his wife, accuses another woman in society, says that she's not a good lady, and the other way around as well, like I said. So in this case, the person says that this person or this woman is not a good lady. He has to bring forward 4 witnesses who've seen the act that he's accusing her of. If he's not able to bring forward 4 witnesses, then what happens? We said the had applies. Okay, the rule applies. The rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala applies, and that is how many lashes? 80 lashes. Good. And also there'll be 3 things that apply to this person. Number 1, he'll get public 80 lashes, so everybody will see it in public for his accusation. Secondly, what would happen? 80 is enough. Good. His shahada, his testimony will not be taken. Okay, so if he's required in a court, or if he's required for, let's say, a wedding, you need 2 witnesses, or whatever it is, you're going to sign a contract for a business, his testimony is not valid. Okay, this person is blacklisted. You will not take his testimony. The third thing is? Good, yeah, he'll be from amongst the fusaq. So he'll be from amongst the fasiqeen. Okay, so people will know that this person is a sinner. Now, here comes another situation. In this next few verses, what happens now that if a man or a woman, they actually saw their partner doing something wrong. They saw it. Okay? There's no doubt. But he hasn't got 4 witnesses. Okay? So in this case, if he accuses his wife, then he hasn't got 4 witnesses. He's going to get done for qadf. He'll get 80 lashes, and he knows 100% that his wife done something wrong because he's seen it with his own eyes, but he can't prove it. So in this case, he'll get 80 lashes, and plus she will still be able to inherit from him, take from his money, and all the rest of it. So this, from one angle, was considered to be oppressive, or a bit, there was dhulm on this side. So this actual story happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ with a companion by the name of Hilal ibn Umayyah. Hilal ibn Umayyah was a very decent man, he was an upright man, and he saw his wife commit the act. Okay? And when he saw this, he went to the Prophet ﷺ and he explained to the Prophet ﷺ what he saw. And the Prophet ﷺ said to him, Al-bayyina wa illa had fi dhahrik. That bring us al-bayyina, bring us the 4 witnesses, otherwise you're going to get lashes on your back, because that was the place lash take place. And he said this to him a number of times. And then Hilal ibn Umayyah, he responds, وَالَّذِي بَعَثَكَ بِالْحَقِّ أَنِّي لَلصَّادِقِ. He said, by the one who sent you to the world, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَنِّي لَلصَّادِقِ, I am wallahi telling you the truth. Like this is, I'm not making this up. I saw it with my own eyes. But the Prophet ﷺ, at this moment in time, these verses in Surah An-Nur hadn't been revealed. So the Prophet ﷺ said to him, you have to bring evidence, al-bayyana. If not, then you're going to get lashed. And then at this point, when the man Hilal ibn Umayyah was persistent, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He revealed these verses that we've taken today. وَالَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ أَزْوَاجَهُم, right down to the end of the qadf. So what do these verses actually mean? Let's have a look very quickly. وَالَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ أَزْوَاجَهُم, as for those who accuse azwaj, they accuse their azwaj as your partners. Okay? As for those who accuse their wives, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُمْ شُهَدَاء, and they do not have the witnesses, إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُم, they have no witness except for themselves, only they saw the act. فَشَهَادَةُ أَحَدِهِمْ أَرْبَعُ شَهَادَةٍ بِاللَّهِ, then Allah says, in that case, this person, he will become the four witnesses. How? He will become the four witnesses. Allah says, إِلَّا أَنفُسُهُمْ, except for himself, مُشَاهَدَةُ أَحَدِهِمْ أَرْبَعَ شَهَادَةٍ بِاللَّهِ, that he will now stand in front of a court, in front of a qadi, in front of a hakim, and he will testify, and he will say 4 times in front of the qadi that wallahi, that this woman is a wrongful woman and she has done this crime. So he will testify. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَنفُسُهُمَا شَهَادَةٌ فِي أَحَدِهِمْ أَرْبَعُ shahadat. So he will say it 4 times billah. And the very reason why in the ayah says billah, because every time he will make qasam with who? With the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so every time he will make a qasam, he will make use of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name. So the exact statement he will say is ashhadu an la inni la min as-sadiqin. He said fima ramaytu bihi zawjati fulana min az-zina. So he will say, I testify by Allah that verily what I'm saying is right, and of my accusation ramaytu bihi zawjati fulana min az-zina, for what I'm accusing her. So he will say, swear by Allah 4 times that his wife has committed zina, and he says, wallahi, I am telling you the truth. Okay, then after the 4th time, the ayah says, وَالْخَامِسَةُ أَنَّ لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ إِنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْكَاذِبِينَ. Then the 5th time, and this is the scary part of the li'an, in the 5th time, he will be stopped by the judge. The qadi will stop him and say, are you sure you want to proceed? And then he will have to make his mind up. And if he does want to proceed, then he will repeat for the 5th time, and his statement will be عَلَيَّ لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ إِن كُنْتُ مِنَ الْكَاذِبِينَ. So in front of everybody he will say, upon me is the la'na of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if I'm lying. Okay, so it's very, very serious. So he stands in front of the qadi 4 times, he swears, wallahi, what I am saying is true, that the woman I am accusing, she has done wrong. 4 times, and then the 5th time the qadi will stop him before he says, are you sure you want to continue? Because he is bringing the la'na of Allah on him, which is obviously very, very dangerous. And if he says, I want to proceed, then what he will say is, وَعَلَيَّ لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ إِن كُنْتُ مِنَ الْكَاذِبِينَ. If I am from amongst the liars, then Allah's la'na will fall upon me. La'na is his curse. Okay? And there's nothing worse than the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, if you continue, so verse number 8. Okay, if we look at verse number 8, then وَيَدْرَأُ عَنْ الْعَذَابَ أَن تَشْهَدَ أَرْبَعَ شَهَادَةٍ بِاللَّهِ وَإِنَّهُ لَمِنَ الْكَاذِبِينَ. Now, the same thing, likewise the woman, then the case after the man has made the 5th statement and he said the la'na, then the qadi will now turn to the woman. And he will say to the lady the same thing. Do you want to proceed? If she says, I don't want to proceed, what does that mean? She's guilty. Yeah, she's guilty. So she can stay quiet, okay, and not proceed. And she will be guilty, and if she's guilty and accused of zina, then the punishment of zina will apply. Okay, and what's the punishment for zina we've taken so far? Ar-rajm, yeah, stoning. So we've taken this so far, it will be ar-rajm. Okay. But if she continues, then likewise the same thing. 4 times she will testify to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ashhadu billah laqad kadhaba fima ramani bihi min zina. She will say, verily, wallahi, I swear by Allah that what this man is saying, he is lying about what I have done, about the zina. So she will evoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 4 times, clearing her name. ثُمَّ تَزِيدُ فِي الشَّهَادَةِ الْخَامِسَةِ. Then the 5th qasam that she will make, she will be stopped, and the qadi will say, listen, are you sure you want to continue? Okay, because let's say she is guilty of the crime, now she's going to evoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and lie. lie upon Allah, so she'll get whatever she's asking for. And if she just steps back and says, look, I'm wrong, okay, then she will get the hadd of the zina, and through that she will be purified. So the qadi will stop her again and say to her, are you sure you want to continue? And if she persists and she wants to continue, then what she will say is أَنَّ غَضَبَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهَا إِن كَانَ مِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ. So she will evoke, she said, if I am not from amongst the truthful people, then the ghadab of Allah, the anger of Allah will be upon me. Okay, so from amongst this as well, the fuqaha, they say, which is worse, the la'na or the ghadab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Let's take a guess if you don't know. Ghadab. Very good. Yeah, the ghadab. The la'na of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're far away from them. Both of them are bad. Yeah, so we shouldn't think that one is better than the other. Both of them are bad. But the la'na of Allah, you are far away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rahmah. But the ghadab of Allah, the anger of Allah, is the worst. So in this case, that's why the woman is stopped, and she said, are you sure you want to continue? Because you are asking for Allah's ghadab. It's very serious. So if she says yes, then that applies. If she says no, then she'll be let go, and the ruling of zina will apply. Some say she's stoned and some say they're not, because in the next verse Allah says, وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ تَوَّابٌ حَكِيمٌ. So in the next verse they said, lawla, if not, or had it not been for the fadl of Allah, for the mercy of Allah, alaykum wa rahmatuhu, and then it stops. Yeah? What do you think? Is that a complete sentence? Like, is there something missing? So if you look at the translation, what does it give you? So where it says, وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ, so verse number 10, what does that, just that part, what does it mean? If you translate, anyone who's looking at translations.
For the favor of Allah.
For the favors that Allah has put upon you and His mercy. That's it. What does that mean?
Are you guilty?
It's connecting to the previous ayah. That in this case, if the woman, for example, she decides to not go forward and take the fifth statement and ask for the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's anger, maybe through that there will be an excuse for her, there will be fadl of Allah, Allah's rahmah will apply to her, and maybe she will not get stoned for whatever reason, or Allah will show her mercy upon her. So if she is guilty, then Allah is saying that Allah's rahmah and Allah's mercy is far more outweighing than you having to lie in front of the people. Just take it. Just don't say the statement and invoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's anger, because of His rahmah and His fadl upon you is far superior than invoking His anger and you know you're lying. Okay? So likewise we said this applies both ways. Yeah, this applies both ways. And we said also the sabab al-nuzul, the reason of revelation, was because of what happened with the companion Hilal ibn Umayyah. Okay, we went through that story as well. Okay. Okay, good. So let's take some of the benefits. Some of the benefits we can take of this li'an. What is the purpose of this li'an? What is the wisdom behind this li'an? We mentioned it already, but what is the hikmah behind this process of li'an? Why is this in the Sharia? What was last week's lesson?
In case you can't find fault.
Good. Yeah? In case a man or a woman can't find 4 witnesses, then their rights will be taken from them, just because they can't find 4 witnesses. So if their partner's cheating on them and they can't prove it with 4 witnesses, then they just have to take it, which is not fair. Yeah. Likewise, so this is another escape. So if you don't find 4 witnesses, you can do the li'an if you want to go down that route. So it protects a person's honor, and it also protects nasab. Nasab is children. So let's say, for example, if a woman had an affair and now she's pregnant, okay, and the man doesn't know, or he does know but he can't do anything about it, then who does that child belong to? No one knows. Yeah. Obviously these we're talking about the days before DNA. Now we can check exactly whose child it is. طيب. Another very interesting point, if we look at these ayats, the first 4 ayats that we looked at, in language we have 3 persons: the first person, second person, and third person when you're speaking, right? So third person is when you're talking about he, they, or she, about people that are not here. So in third person, okay. Second person is when you're talking to someone, you say you, okay, you as a group or you as an individual. First person is I or we, okay. When you look at these verses, right down from 6 all the way down to number 9, you find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking in the third person. وَالَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ, about those that are not here, all those people who commit this crime, those people who have done this sin, talking about people that are not there. So whenever he's talking about something which is considered to be bad or a sin, which is zina or qadf or these things, it always refers third person, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the adab of the Quran, it doesn't, these things are not pointed directly at somebody. But look at the last line. When you look at the last line, لَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ, when it talks about Allah's maghfirah and Allah's mercy and rahmah, it changes from third person and it becomes second person. Allah directs it to the reader. So if a person has committed sin, Allah does not direct it to the person, it keeps it third person hidden. But when it comes to the good points, rahmah and mercy, Allah makes it second person, so the reader will know, oh subhanAllah, Allah's mercy is much more stronger than His punishment. So subhanAllah, this is another beautiful aspect of these ayats. Okay. Another question. Generally in the Quran, when we see verses when describing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the very last verse says, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ تَوَّابٌ حَكِيمٌ. Normally when we look in the Quran and we find the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Tawwab, it comes with Tawwabun Rahim. Yeah, very often the word Tawwab, it comes with Rahim, because Tawwab means that Allah is the forgiver, Rahim means He's the most merciful. So those names commonly come together. But in this surah, what comes with Tawwab? And this is Hakim. Who can think of the reason to why? Why normally it's Tawwabur Rahim, but this time it's Tawwabun Hakim. What does Hakim mean? Wise, or what does Hukum mean? Huh? Law, good? Huh? Good. Law is probably the best one, because previously what we've been talking about, the last ayat, what were they all talking about? There were rulings, very good. There were rulings, 80 lashes, qadf, li'an, all rules. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in this last verse, at the end of the page, when all the ahkam is finished, Allah says, number one, huwa tawwab. He is the one who is most forgiving if you made a mistake. Wa huwa hakim, meaning all these laws are from Allah. They're not from any man, they're not from any kind of system. They're Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's laws.
I think the last applies more to the man rather than to the women, because if it wasn't Allah's father and the Rahmah, he would have been lashed 80 lashes, because Allah did not send them. So I think more applies to the men rather than to the women.
Yeah, that's very possible as well. So what the Prophet is saying, that لَوْلَا فَضْلُ alaykum, the kum is used for the male plural, okay, but it can be used for females as well, but for male plural. But here, the Prophet is saying as well is that if a man doesn't take the matter to court, for example, because we know that the had, we mentioned this before, the three types of punishment is the had, qisas and ta'zir. Now, ta'zir is the law of the land, so whatever law that the government brings in. So it's not something you have to do, it's up to the government. Qisas is dealing with death or injuries. So a person who's received injury, or the family of the deceased, they can forgive. They don't have to apply the capital punishment. But the had, any of the hudud, if they're taken to court, I repeat, if they're taken to court, the qadi must execute the rule. The qadi cannot overlook the matter. That's why when the lady came to the Prophet ﷺ and she said, verily I committed zina, the Prophet ﷺ, he looked the other way, hoping she'd go, because he doesn't want to do it. Then she came from the other side and she said, Ya Rasulullah, tahirni, purify me, I've committed zina. He looked the other way until she did it 3 times. Then the Prophet ﷺ was forced, and then he said, you forced me, now I have to execute the punishment. So they stoned her. Okay, so likewise when it comes to the hudud, if the issue is taken to the hakim, the qadi, then the ruling has to apply. The qadi cannot overlook or forgive. So that's one of the very good, mashallah, one of the interpretations here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reaching out to the men, وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ, that look at the virtues Allah has given you, men, look at the mercy that Allah has given you, that maybe don't raise up the issue in court, because otherwise the ending is not going to be very good. طيب. So Tawwabun Hakim, also the point I was making is that Hakim, why is Hakim mentioned in this? Because it's all about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ahkam. Yeah, it's got lots of rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Good. So let's look at some of the some specific details. Number 1, Mata yajibu al-li'an. When is it obligatory on a person to make the li'an? Okay. Okay, number one, الحالة الأولى إذا رمى امرأته بالزنا كأن يقول لها زنت أو رأيتك تزنين. So the first situation is when the man clearly accuses his wife of being a zania. So if the man is accusing his wife of being indecent, or likewise the other way around, then the li'an has to apply, okay, because it's said outwardly, so it must apply. Second situation is أن ينفي حملها. So the father, he says, if a woman's pregnant, he says, that's not my child. Says, that's not my child. So now they're forced to do what? Al-li'an, because they have to clear up who does that child belong to. So this is where they will clarify that. Or ينفي ولدا له منها. Or not that she's pregnant, but she's got a child already, and then the father, he doubts that that's his child. So if he doubts that's his child, then again they have to go through the process of li'an. So three phrases. Number one, we said when the man does what? He accuses her. So they need to clear up the case. Number two, if she's pregnant and he's saying that that's not mine. Or number three, that's right, if there's a child already there, but then he's got a reason for doubt, that's not my child. Good. طيب, next question. So the next question is هل يجوز اللعان بدون حضور الحاكم? Is it permissible for someone to do li'an when we have no ruler or we have no hakim, no qadi? So in ideal Islamic world, you have courts and you take your issue to the court and the qadi will invoke the man, say take the qasam, and the woman take the qasam. So now we don't have any Islamic or Sharia courts, yeah, and we're just like this. Can we do li'an? What do you think? Yeah?
On certain conditions.
Huh?
I think in the UK you're allowed to stone someone.
No, you can't. Yeah, that's true. You can't apply the ruling. You can't rule it, but you can. Can you still do the li'an? Like for example, let's just say, I'm just saying, yeah. So if two people came in and they said to me, "Oh, we want you to do the process," so I make this woman sit here, the man sit here. Can I do that?
No. There's a hakim.
Huh?
There is a hakim that means you're talking about there's no one to judge them. They're doing among themselves, but there is someone to judge them.
Okay, so the imam. So like if you go to any masjid, would you go and let the imam do the li'an?
No.
Yes.
He said no. That was a strong no.
Because if the husband says, if he says, accuse the wife of zina, the wife will remain silent, then who's going to implement the hudud on the wife?
Good. Yeah, mashallah is pretty much what you're saying. Is that the whole purpose of somebody starting that process is for there to be a conclusion. So there's no point of coming and then just saying, okay, she's a zania and he's done qadf and they go home. What's the point? Then you have to execute the rule. So if it happens, I'm not able to execute anything. So there's no point of exposing people's sins and doing nothing about it. So in that case, unless you don't have a hakim, an Islamic system, you cannot really apply the li'an. Yeah, the most you can probably do is the two will separate and go their own way. Okay, so you have to have an Islamic system or Islamic way of life in order for these things to apply. So for those people who say that Islam has no role in politics or in society, how do you apply li'an then? So those people, Islam is the complete way of life. Yeah.
Can you execute those punishment outside the country?
Can you execute it outside? So like we said before, we mentioned this is an academic discussion, yeah? I'm not empowering anyone to go out and start lashing or stoning or doing anything to anyone. We're just discussing the Islamic law. If you do that, that's allowed. So let's say, for example, Brunei. Yeah, I think the King of Brunei has just implemented the law of adultery and zina. So let's say a husband and wife, they live in the UK and they say, let's go to Brunei and let's settle our case. Can they do that? Yeah, they can do that. They can do that. And they have to be ready for what the judge in Brunei is going to say. Because if they allow it in their country, then that will apply. Okay, but you can't, for example, sit here and do the arbitration with me and then go to Brunei for the punishment. You have to do everything over there because the judge has to be able to be satisfied. Okay, we have to also understand, brothers and sisters, that if in the Sharia we find a very harsh punishment, you have to behave yourself. So that's why Allah gives a strong punishment so you get scared. طيب. Next question. So النقول عن اللعان هل يجب الحد. So the next question is that if you're in court and one of the two, they refuse to take the qasam, they refuse to testify, they refuse to say wallahi, so the man stays quiet or the woman stays quiet, what do we do in that situation? Do we apply the had or do we not apply the had? So if the man stays quiet, what does that mean? What's the man done? Qadf. If the woman stays quiet, what she's done? Zina. So let's say the man, we go in court now, the man was all, he's hyped up, I'm going to go sort my woman out, she's done that, and when they go in front of the qadi, and the qadi says, okay, say qasam now. He says the 4, and the 5th one, he says, now invoke the la'na, and he just gets scared. He says, actually, I don't want to go through with it, I'm scared. Now what do we do with this man?
80 lashes.
80 lashes?
Yeah.
80.
Mashallah, boy at the back. Stone him. So, okay, likewise if the woman, what do we do? Okay, let's have a look. So madhab al-jumhur, the Malikiyya and the Shafi'iyya and Imam Ahmad, so the Hanabila, they said أن الزوج إذا نكل أن اللعان فعليه حد القذف. They said if the man refuses to continue, then we apply the 80 lashes on him. وإذا نكلت الزوجة أن اللعان فعليها حد الزنا. And if the woman refuses to do it, then we apply the had of the zina upon her. So that was the opinion of the 3 schools out of the 4. The 4th school, Imam Abu Hanifa, he says إذا نكل الزوج أن اللعان حبس حتى يلاعن أو يكذب نفسه. That if the man he refuses to continue, then we arrest him until he continues the li'an or he says I was lying. So we don't just automatically apply the qadf, we arrest him and we give him some time. Do you want to continue or do you want to get the qadf? We let him think about it and he can decide. وَإِذَا نَكَلَتَ الْمَرْأَةِ. If the woman, she freezes up and she gets scared, she don't want to carry on. In this case, الْمَرْأَةِ حُبِسَتْ, she's put in prison حَتَّى تُلَعِنْ, until she continues with the li'an, أو تقر بالزنا, and she admits that yes, I was wrong. فَيُقَامَ عَلَيْهَا الْحَدْ حِينَئِذٍ. Only then do you apply the had. So do you notice the difference between the two? So the 3 madhabs, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad, they said automatically, as soon as the person says, I'm not going to continue, the man will give him the qadf, 80 lashes, and the woman will give her the stoning. But Imam Abu Hanifa, he said, no, we have to slow down. Let's give him some time. Put the man in prison and let him think about it. Do you really want to continue? Or do you want to just take the 80 lashes? Likewise the woman, we give her some time. Okay, and if she wants to continue, she continue. If she doesn't want to, then she invokes the punishment of zina, because the punishment of zina will include death. Now the wisdom, without going into too much discussion, the wisdom behind that, Imam Abu Hanifa is saying, is that when it comes to hudud, which result in the end of somebody's life, we cannot do them on whims. We cannot just do that because we think that that's what's happened. Yeah? So in the case where a woman says, I don't want to continue, does that mean 100% that she's guilty? Does it mean 100% that she's guilty? No. Yeah, 90, but it's not 100, yeah? So that's why they say al-hudud, the hudud, if there is the lowest amount of shak, tadra'u al-hudud bi shubuhat, the hadd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if there is the lowest level of shak, we're not allowed to implement the hudud. We have to have yaqeen. So Imam Hanifa, he said, hey, just because she's silent, it doesn't mean she's guilty. So Imam Hanifa took the precautionary side. He said, give her some time. Either let her continue if she's satisfied, or let her admit. And there's no stronger evidence in the Sharia than iqrar, than a person admitting their own mistake. Okay, so this was the opinion of Imam Hanifa, and you can see the wisdom in that. Okay, one of the beauties of the madhab of the Imam Hanifa is that when it comes to hudud, he's not hasty to lash or to stone, always taking time, because it's human life. So in that case, one can argue the pros and cons of the discussion. Okay, good. So next question. Let's say the la'an takes place. هل يفرق بين المتلاعنين. So let's say the li'an has taken place. So the husband, he stood up and he said, Wallahi, Wallahi, she's a bad woman. He said it 4 times. Then the 5th time he says, Wallahi, if I am lying, then the ghadab of Allah, the la'an of Allah is upon me. Then the judge goes to the woman and she says 4 times, Wallahi, he's a liar. Wallahi, he's a liar. And the 5th time she says, if I am lying and he's telling the truth, then may the ghadab of Allah be upon me. And they both done it. So he said Wallahi and she said Wallahi. What does that mean?
One of them is lying.
One of them is lying. Who's lying? We don't know. So what do we do in this case? If both of them, they go through with it. So let's have a look at this. Number 1, of course, the two are separated. The husband and wife are given an automatic separation or divorce. And this is known as a firqa abadiyah, that they are permanently separated. They cannot come back to each other. So like we talked in divorce, we said there was talaq raj'iyya and talaq, what was the other one? Ba'in al-kubra. Okay, so the third divorce, that in the third divorce, can you come back to your wife?
No.
You can't come back. In the first two you can. So likewise here, if the li'an has taken place between two people, then after the judge has given the order, those two can never come back. Okay, they're permanently haram for one another. Okay, and the Prophet said, "Al-mutala'inani idha tafarraqa la yajtami'ani abadan." That two people who've done li'an, they can never ever come back to each other. طيب? Now the next question is that if two people are standing now, okay, the man is here and the woman is here, and the qadi is doing the li'an, at what moment in time does the tafriqah, meaning the separation, apply? Like at what moment in time does the li'an actually apply? Are you with me? So somebody has come, a man is here and a woman is here, and they're both about to start. So the judge says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Salatu Wassalam, Rasulullah. He's going to start the process of li'an. And then the husband and wife, they look at each other and say, actually, we change our mind. Okay, we don't want to go, we change our mind. Has the li'an started or has it not started?
Has not started.
Okay, so he says it's not started. Likewise, let's say the man, he does his job, and the woman doesn't. Has the li'an finished? Has it happened? Okay, let's say the man does one. He says, Wallahi, she's a liar. And then he goes, actually, you know what? I don't want to carry on. Has the li'an happened?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes? MashaAllah. Okay, let's have a look. So here, Imam al-Shafi'i, rahimahullah, he said, أن الفرقة تقع بمجرد لعان الزوج وحده ولو لم تلاعن الزوجة. So Imam al-Shafi'i said, just by the very fact that the man, he's done his part, the woman hasn't even spoken yet, but just by the fact that the man has done his part, khalas, you have to separate them two permanently forever. That was the Imam Shafi'i. Imam Malik and a riwayah from Imam Ahmad, they said that أن الفرقة لا تقع إلا بلعنهما جميعا. That the firqa only applies once both of them are finished. If only one has done it but the other one doesn't, then you can't separate, because the process is not finished. So you have to do both and then it applies. Whereas Imam Abu Hanifa and the position of Imam Ahmad in another narration, he says أن الفرقة لا تقع إلا بتمام لعانهما والتفريق الحاكم بينهما. That the firqa separating the two can only apply once the man has finished and the woman has finished and the qadi says, now you are separated. If the qadi hasn't said it, then it doesn't apply. Okay, so those are the three positions of when the firqa applies. Okay, and they say, because the Prophet ﷺ, when the issue was brought forward to the Prophet ﷺ and the li'an happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, after the man had finished and the woman had finished, then the Prophet ﷺ said, فَرَّقَ رَسُولُ ﷺ بَيْنَهُمَا. So once they were finished, then the Prophet ﷺ announced it. He said that the separation takes place. Then they were separated. Okay, so they use that as the evidence to suggest that. Okay, what happens now? We've got two more questions, the second to last. What happens now? إذا أكذب الرجل نفسه فهل تعود إليه زوجته. So let's say now the li'an has taken place, and after it's finished, then the man says, actually, you know what, astaghfirullah, I was lying. He said, I make tawbah to Allah, I was lying, and I love my wife, I miss her. It's been 2 weeks, I haven't seen her, I really miss her, I want her back. So can we cancel the li'an and bring them back, or khalas, li'an has happened and they have to live separately? Cancel? Depends how much you love your wife, huh? You said what? So I didn't.
He says he's lying.
Yeah.
So punish him for qadr.
Punish him for qadr, but are they separated or can they come back together?
Can somebody, a husband who does qadr for his wife, be separated, or they're automatically separated? Because the Shafi'i said that if he begins to li'an, then he's separated.
Okay, yeah. So from the Shafi'i perspective, yeah.
What he said, who's lying, so they have to be not together.
But the man said that I made it up. So he said just cancel it. I was just angry with her. It's finished. Okay, let's have a look. Okay. Come back. So here قال إمام مالك وإمام الشافعي they said لا تحل له زوجته لأن الفرقة مؤبدة وقد قضت السنة بأنهما لا يجتمعان أبدا. That Imam Malik and Imam Shafi'i said even if the man admits it that he was lying, they are separated permanently and forever. There is no joking or there is no return in these matters. So the only alim from the madhabs who said no, you can bring them back together was Imam Abu Hanifa. Okay, Imam Abu Hanifa, he said إذا أكذب الرجل نفسه فهو خاطب من الخطاب لأنه إذا اعترف بكذبه وحد حد القذف لم يبقى ملاعنا وإنما أصبح كاذبا. So Imam Abu Hanifa said if the man retracts his statement, and he says that he was lying, then what do we apply on him? Qadhf. So if the rule of qadhf applies upon him, is he a mula'in or is he a maqdhuf? Which of the two? Does the qadhf apply or does the la'an apply? Which of the two rulings should apply? Because we can't apply both.
But the line is from Allah.
The lines from Allah and not from people?
Yeah, because he invoked the line from Allah. So once you make the second oath, so that's not to do with the people. So you invoke the line from Allah, so between you and Allah.
Okay.
The cut with the people. So once you invoke it, there's no way
you can come back? Okay, that's the opinion. That's the opinion of Jumhur. Yeah. What was the second one? Remind me. The qadhf, just the qadhf. Yeah, what do you think? So Imam Abu Hanifa, what he says is effectively this. Look, you know when we looked at the bab of yameen, making an oath with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you make an oath with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you don't fulfill it, what do you have to do?
Fast 3 days.
Kafara. Okay, you have a kafara, 3 days feeding the miskin and likewise. But there's kafara. So what Imam Abu Hanifa says is that he'll get the punishment of qadhf because that's the hadd. Okay, and then he has kafara for his yameen with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he broke his promise with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what he's saying is that in this case we can't apply two rulings at the same time. Okay, so we can't call him la'in and qadhf at the same time. So if he retracts it and he says he's sorry or he's made tawbah for whatever and he's saying I was lying, then we give him 80 lashes and he can continue living with his wife. Okay, this is the opinion of Abu Hanifa. But Imam Malik and Imam Shafi'i, they said no, this is something which is impermissible because the li'an has taken place and there's no going back. Okay, and likewise the author of this book, he also says the Sahih ما ذهب إليه الجمهور لأن اللعان يوجب حرمة مؤبدة كما دلت بذلك الآثار سواء أكذب نفسه أم لا والله أعلم. So even the author says no, khalas, once the li'an has taken place, there is no going back. We can't mess about or play with these things. Okay, so it doesn't make a difference. This is the last question now. Okay? SubhanAllah. Okay, this is the last question now. هل يلحق ولد اللعان بأمه? So now there is a child involved. And the man says, this child is not mine. And the woman, she says, it's his. So they go through li'an. They go through the process of li'an. Who does that child belong to now?
The father.
That's
Mother.
his mother.
Because it belongs to the father. They both the line on the mistake. You can't accuse them of lying. Even if, because they've done the line on themselves, so he will still apply it. He will still have the father's name.
Okay. In this case, what actually happens is the fact that if the man, he accuses the woman and says, that's not my child, and they go through the process of the li'an, then in this case, the child, he's given the nasab of the mother, not the father. Okay, so the name of the father will be removed from the child and he'll give him the name of the mother. Okay, and likewise وَسَقَطَتْ نَفَقَتُهُ. Likewise this so-called father is no longer financially obliged to provide for that child. Okay, وَإِنْتَفَى التَّوَارِيث بَيْنَهُمَا. And likewise the two will not inherit from one another. Okay, so if the li'an has taken place, that child will not inherit from that man. Likewise, وقضى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في ولد المتلاعنين أنه يرث أمه وترثه أمه. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, when the la'an took place, he said to the mutala'inin, the two people, that the child will inherit from the mother and the mother can inherit from the child, meaning that the father is no longer in the picture. Okay, so this is in the time of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. Likewise, likewise also there is a little overlap Okay, so it's not completely like he's not his son. But then another thing to bring up is فَلَا يُعْطِهِ زَكَاةُ الْمَالِ, that he cannot give him zakatul mal, because a father cannot give his son zakatul mal. Even though the li'an has taken place, the child still somehow he is considered his son in that respect, so that the father cannot give that boy, even if he's a faqir or a miskin or abir sabil or whatever, he is not allowed to take zakat. Okay. Also, لو قتله لا قصاص عليه. There is a hadith which talks about if the father kills his son. I mean, there's long discussion about this, but if the father kills his son, then there is no qisas on the father. So in this case, that will also apply. ولا تجوز شهادة كل منهما للآخر. So we also understand that in court, can a father give shahada for his son? So if a father is guilty of a crime, and can the son be the witness? No. And can the father be witness for the son? No. And the son be the witness for the father? No. So that's why in this case, even though the li'an has taken place, this boy cannot be the witness for the father, and the father cannot be the witness for the boy. ولا يعد مجهول النسب فلا يصح أن يدعيه غيره. Okay, likewise, the boy now will take the mother's name, but can somebody else come along and claim that that's my son? You know, there's a bab in fiqh called babul laqit. So for example, somebody finds a boy, okay, you just find a child. So who does the child belong to? So if somebody takes this child in, and then somebody else claims that's my child, they can, if they claim that's their child and there's evidence to suggest that, then that person can claim that child. The child will take that person's name. But in this case, because there was a li'an that took place, that no one can come along and make claim for that child. Okay. That brings us to the end of this discussion of the li'an. And you know, the concluding remarks for this is the fact that, you know, the punishment is very severe, and the process is also very stringent, but we have to understand that these things are very, very important in Islam. In the society we live in today, the issue of marital affairs or cheating or these kind of things is a small issue. It's not taken very seriously, but in the Sharia these things are taken very, very seriously. Why? Because it's the right of the husband that his wife is loyal to him, and also the right of the wife that the husband is loyal to her. And likewise the children, you know, it's the right of the children that they know who their father and who their mother is. So when it comes to inheritance, for example, if the child is not from that man, okay, and inheritance is passed down, that's dhulm. Because inheritance is according to the blood, so the father to the son and then to his son. That's how the inheritance goes. But if there's somebody put in the picture who's not from that lineage, then all of that wealth or that money or that inheritance will go to somebody else. Likewise also, if we don't know the nasab of a child, we don't know if the woman he intends to marry in the future, can he marry her or not? There could be ikhtilat in that. So it could be his sister, could be his half sister, could be his breastfeeding sister, could be problems. Likewise the other way around. So that's why Islam takes it very, very seriously when it comes to marriage and affairs and outside relationships. And hence the punishment is so severe. Let's open the doors for a few questions before we have the adhan. Yeah, go ahead.
If the couple that do li'an and the child, they say the child is not mine, and someone else comes along, how can that person be considered their father when child of zina doesn't go back to the father of the zina?
So say that again. So if there's a child involved,
yeah,